Today, we're going to explore how to truly separate work and home when you work from home. Understand that your brain understands the time boundaries before it understands space. In an office environment, the time is already enforced for you. You get there at a specific time, you take breaks at a specific point, and at the end of the day, you go home. But when you work from home, all those external factors then disappears. And that's when your brain struggles because it needs replacement. Now, let's separate work and home by time. Starting work at the same time every day trains your brain to enter into focus mode automatically. It removes the internal debate of should I start now or later? That decision fatigue is subtle but draining, and over time it chips away from productivity and mental clarity. Now, let's dive into ending work. Ending work at a defined time is just as important, if not more. So, without an intentional stop, work usually expands and fill your entire day. Even when you're not actively working, but your mind stays partially engaged, replaying tasks and unfinished discussion, of which can be mentally draining. Just avoiding the habit of just one more thing. After hours, it's protecting your mental health. I know, and I'm also guilty of this one. I do it a lot, but in 2026, it's not something that I'm adopting. I'm dropping it off. And the thing is, your brain does not experience those extra minutes as harmless, but it experiences them as unfinished loops. This now creates a mental spillover where your work thoughts now invades your rest time, making it harder for you to relax and for you to even show up the next day. I've once experienced this. Have you ever? Now, let's touch into why separation by time works. Have you ever heard somebody say, I just need closure? Of course, your brain needs closure. When you have a clear start and stop times, you allow your brain to fully disengage, and this will prevent stress and premature burnout. Now that we've touched into separate by time, let's touch into separate by ritual. Ritual acts as a bridge between mental states. When you work from home, you no longer have a commute to help your brain transition from personal mode to professional mode. That's where the ritual now comes in to replace the missing structure. Let's touch into start of work ritual. This could be you getting dressed, getting a coffee or tea, or just taking a walk. These small tasks, when they are done repeatedly, they alert your nervous system that it's time to focus. End of work rituals are even more powerful. Please close that laptop. Please. What I usually do that you can also adopt is writing tomorrow's top 3 tasks and clear your workstation to give your brain a clear message to say that this chapter is closed. Without these signals, your mind remains in suspended state. It's not fully working, but it's not resting either. So rituals help you to calm your nervous system, but also to create the psychological transition to be able to let your brain be able to switch mode without the confusion. Now, let's touch into separate by space. You don't need a home office to form a separation. You just need a mental zoning. Your brain forms association quickly than you think. The moment you sit there, your mind prepares to work. But let's address the elephant in the room before we move into another separation. There are people who love waking from bed, but I don't know if I'm too strict or what, but waking from bed bless this association. Let's be honest, beds are meant for rest and recovery. But when your work enters that space, then now your brain loses the ability to fully rest even when you're not working. So, when spaces overlap, of which I don't promote, but you can do whatever that you want. But if you still want to stay productive in 2026, that should not happen because it then causes your brain to stay alert in places it should be resting and stay unfocused in places that are meant for work. Today, let's speak about separation by identity. This is one of the most overlooked challenges in terms of working from home. We have to understand that when there's no physical transition between work and home, it's easy for us to stay mentally on all the time. But as humans, we function best when rules are clear. I mean, there's a version of you that shows up for work, focused, professional, and goal-driven. And there's also a version of you that lives outside of work, that's softer and just want to live in the moment. Changing something physical helps your brain to recognize this shift. It could be changing clothes, adjusting your hairstyle, or just a mere fact of just altering the light in the room. I know, These changes are not superficial, but they help your brain to be able to switch identities smoothly. Also, keep in mind that when you work from home, your brain relies heavily on visual cues and sensory cues. So you have to prepare it for that state. Now, let's move into the biggest boundary breakers of all time: separation by technology. I'm so excited to speak about this one because when you start work from home, you're not given a manual to say this is how to work from home. Lo and behold, let this video be your manual. Those emails, notifications, the instant messages, they keep your brain in a state of alert. And you may be saying that, no, I don't respond. Yes, even when you don't respond, your nervous system has already registered them as a demand for attention. Turning off your work notifications after hours and logging off work tools when you're done, it creates a digital closure, which then alerts your brain to say that work is no longer accessible. Therefore, whatever comes in is no longer urgent. Tell me in the comment section, how do you feel about this point? Not logging off and not switching off your notifications. But for me, it prevents your full recovery and rest. Now, let's move into the most controversial part of it: separate by permission. Perhaps the most important boundary is internal. You may agree or disagree with me, but please don't forget to drop your opinion in the comment section. Most people struggle to stop work, not because they don't want to, but because they feel like they're not allowed to. There's an underlying belief that rest must be earned, justified, or even compensated for. But in reality, rest is a reward or even a requirement. When you give yourself permission to stop, you release mental guilt and you also reduce the mental resistance. If you're in your 20s and you work from home, please, you still have a long way to go. Allow your brain to fully rest, which will directly improve your focus and your productivity the next day. A rested brain is a regulated brain. With all that, working from home only works when you create separations, not just physically, but mentally. Those boundaries are not restrictions, but they are what will allow your brain to function well in the long run. Just out of curiosity, which boundary do you think you still need to work on most? Please comment down below and I'll read the comments. If this resonated with you, like the video, subscribe if you have not. I'd really love to have you here.